perfect money? Like, well, what are you defining as perfect money? Like, I know you're talking about a closed monetary system. Now, this it's kind of interesting. I get the premise, but if you just want to explain around it a little bit, because often you hear people refer to Bitcoin as an open monetary system in terms of it being permissionless. I don't think that's what you're
Yeah,
alluding to here, but
yeah.
do you want to just explain perfect money in the closed system just to give the clarification on it?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because people do often refer to it as an open monetary system, and people refer to it open as in open in permission. You don't need permission to join it. It's not a closed elitist group that you have to be like take the United States for example. You have to be a U.S. citizen or have an exchange rate. Like you have to have more or less permission with the United States government to exchange with them, even if you're in a foreign country or something to that extent. But when it comes to Bitcoin, it's open in that anyone can use it freely and nobody can censor you or stop you or whatever. And as CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, become more popular, the closedness or the lack of freedom in these fiat currencies is just going to become more apparent. That was the case, is the case in Nigeria right now, unfortunately, along with other developing nations. But regarding to my comments of it being a closed system, when I refer to it as a closed system, I'm not talking in terms of accessibility. I'm talking in terms of engineering. And this is why engineers understand Bitcoin much quicker than finance people, is because engineers understand an open and closed system. A plane that flies is a closed system. A plane that has a hole in the side of it, that it's eventually going to crash, that's an open system. If you have a satellite in orbit around the Earth, that's a closed system because there's no energy loss. But if it's continuously falling towards Earth, and it just stays in orbit. Its rate of decay is zero. Zero, perfect, closed. But if you have a satellite that eventually is, every time it goes around the Earth, it becomes closer and closer to the ground, and eventually crashes and burns in the atmosphere or hits Earth or whatever. That would be an open system because there's an energy leak. Every time it goes around, it's losing energy and it's decaying eventually back to crash down to the ground. So that's an open or closed system. Or one of my favorite metaphors is that of a ship. If you're in the middle of the ocean and you have a ship, and there's a hole in the hole and water is coming on, that's an open system because you have energy, you have water that's coming in and weighing the ship down. And open systems have an exponential rate of decay. As more water comes into the ship, it sinks a little faster. As it sinks faster, more water comes in. There's greater water pressure forcing water in, and there's less buoyancy. It's like every component of the rate of a ship sinking gets faster and faster, more exponential as the open system becomes more and more open and it tears open the hole in that hole. Versus a ship that floats. That's a closed system. And the value of a closed system in terms of an open system is infinity. A ship that floats is not worth 10% more than a ship that doesn't float. It's worth infinitely more than a ship that doesn't float. It's like it's so obvious when you put it that way. And so what is a perfect money? Why is Bitcoin perfect money? Why is it a closed system? Well, it's because every unit within Bitcoin's network has only been created as a result of a brute force physical cost that has been exerted in some manner or some fashion. If I buy Bitcoin today, say I buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, it took effort. It took a brute force physical cost to acquire that capital. That's economic energy, that 1,000 USD. Even though the USD itself is corrupted, the energy it took to acquire is legitimate. It either took labor, or it took intellect, or it took some sort of brute force physical cost to acquire that purchasing power. And when that's converted into Bitcoin, well, that Bitcoin has that cost. And what do miners do? Well, what miners do is they expend enormous amounts of electricity, enormous amounts of computing power, again, a brute force physical cost, to create new Bitcoin. No Bitcoin is created out of thin air. It is either created through miners. Actually, all of it is created through miners, and then it's transacted between parties. Now, compare that to the US dollar or another political currency unit that uses an abstract power hierarchy. What happens there? Well, you have Ben Bernanke or Jerome Powell or Yellen or somebody, Congress, say, okay, we need more currency units, so let's make them. Okay, just sign it. And yeah, sure, it takes energy to put the ink on the paper, but there's no limit to how many zeros you can just add to it. Like, it's just You need more currency units. Okay, add another zero, and add another zero, and another. And so there's no cost. There's no cost. There's no effort. There's no it's a violation of the law of conservation of energy. All these ledgers of these political currency units are more or less breaking the laws of physics because you're creating value out of thin air. Or one of Elon Musk's best quotes regarding the lockdown: "If you make no stuff, there is no stuff." It doesn't matter if you print money. If you create money out of thin air and then you exchange it for goods in the real world, and there was no cost in creating that money, it's like it's inherently a corrupted ledger, and that has to collapse. FTX is one of those examples. What did Sam Bankman-Fried do? He created FTT token out of thin air and exchange it for US dollars or Bitcoin or whatever things with real brute force physical cost. And his made up token FTT and his made up exchange FTX their ledgers are basically, again, violating physics. And it was a matter of time, again using the satellite metaphor, it was a matter of time until the market corrected and it crashed back to earth, at an exponential rate. The FTT token declined a little bit, and then boom, it was over. And so anyway, why is Bitcoin better? Well, Bitcoin's better because it's a closed system, because it obeys the law of conservation of energy, and it inherently takes capital energy or electronic energy or informational energy or some sort of cost to create. Every unit of Bitcoin in existence is perfectly legitimate. It's perfectly verifiably scarce, and it's immutable in nature. Nobody can change it. So why is it perfect money? It's like, well, because as strange as it sounds, it obeys physics. It obeys math. And we've never had a currency system that has done that before. Gold has been the closest thing. With gold, it takes a brute force physical cost to mine it out of the ground or to create it. You can't just manifest gold. But the problem with gold is that there's an infinite amount of it. We can mine more gold. Uganda just had, I think it was 30 million tons of ore of gold discovered last year, I believe it was last year. And there's gold in space, there's gold in the oceans, and as technology gets better, the amount, the exertion of energy will be the same, but the cost and the expense of the energy as a percent of global energy production will become smaller and smaller, and so therefore you will only be able to produce more gold. So why is Bitcoin perfect money? Well, it's a closed system, number one, in the fact that it takes energy to produce, and number two, that there's only a fixed number. You can't make more. Just because technology gets better and better and the cost of electricity goes down continuously forever, the rate of supply of the number of Bitcoins in existence do not increase along with that, versus gold, versus houses and everything else. The number of houses, the number of bars of gold have to increase as energy continues to increase in abundance. And Bitcoin is an algorithm that fights that resists that. And that's what Henry Ford and Tesla and other folks, again, engineers, understood. Engineers of 100 years ago, 120 years ago, understood Bitcoin, and finance experts and bankers today don't understand it. It's just anyway. I'll say that's what I mean by a closed system. It's fundamentally a piece of code, an algorithm, so to speak, that is just math. It's just math, and it's not made up.
Yeah. Okay, I totally understand. Yeah, no, I don't have a background in physics, so that's a great clarification. But so what you're saying there with regards, say, the USD versus Bitcoin, so to use your satellite spinning towards the Earth, the open system example, like, do you think then, like, how soon do you think this is going to happen? Like, look, I know, might be like, how long's a piece of string? Who knows? But that satellite is hurtling now. I assume, in your opinion, well, obviously based on the threads, like, do you think, like, next, say, like, Bitcoin goes in a mad bull run next cycle and hops up to 200K or something like that, is that then like the Schelling point where there's no return? Like, do you think the US dollar just bleeds away after that at an exponential? Like, is it just like, as you say, the bang, the clap, and then everyone that doesn't have Bitcoins left without a chair? Is that what you think?
Yeah, what I'm about to say is going to be really offensive to people, especially again for those that are new to Bitcoin and don't understand it yet. But I just please hear me out. And if you disagree, put it in the comments why I'm wrong, please. And somebody will debate you, or I don't know. You can just be angry at me or whatever. But what I would say is this: even if Bitcoin didn't exist, we all know the dollar's going to zero. I get told all the time, stop buying Bitcoin, just buy real estate. And I ask why, and they say because real estate only goes up. It's what I've been saying this whole time. It's like, no, the real estate's not going up. You're not really saying real estate goes up forever. You're saying the price or the exchange rate of real estate goes down. The USD conversion rate goes down forever. That's what you're really saying. Oh, just buy and hold stocks forever. You'll retire just fine. It's like, no, you're not saying this. That's not what you're really saying. That's what you think you're saying, but it's not what you're saying. So we all know, because we believe that stocks go up forever, and because we believe that real estate goes up forever, and they're solid long-term investments. It's like, no, we're not really saying that these things go up in value forever, because we know technology makes them more affordable as a function of time. What we're really saying is that we know the exchange rate in terms of US dollar is continuing to go in the direction it's been going forever. And so we all inherently know that the dollar is going to continue to decline in real purchasing power as a function of time. We already know this. It's just what I'm saying is that it's going to happen faster than you think. That's what I'm saying. I want to thank you for being a supporter of mine and a viewer of my channel here and a follower of mine. It really means a lot to me that you would support me in my efforts to expand Bitcoin education to a wider audience. And someone else that's doing the same here is my friend and fellow partner and supporter, Brian DeMint. Brian DeMint has done many efforts in Bitcoin here over the last few years, and this is one of them. This is his book. It's Bitcoin Evangelism. See, Brian was the former founder of a crypto project, and once he realized Bitcoin, why it's unique compared to other digital assets and other forms of tokens and money, he wrote this book. He wrote this book comparing why Bitcoin is unique in this sense. So no matter if you're new to Bitcoin, if you're trying to preach the message of Bitcoin, or you know someone that is a little more advanced, wherever your experience level, where you are, this is a book that's probably going to be very useful to you. The text is very readable, lots of bolded quotes from many people throughout history about why Bitcoin's unique, comparisons to former technology, and why Bitcoin, in a similar way, people are irrationally scared of it in the beginning, and lots of great visuals explaining various aspects about Bitcoin, the regular political currency and financial system, and why Bitcoin is most likely going to go up in purchasing power in the future. So again, whether you're new to Bitcoin, you're just trying to explain to someone why Bitcoin is unique compared to other crypto tokens, crypto projects, and political currencies, this could be a good visual aid for you to share to people with easy to readable text and great concepts in there as well. So if you want to continue to support me and you want to support someone else, Brian DeMint's book, Bitcoin Evangelism, I highly recommend you check it out. Thanks.